The final hours of the transfer window brought high drama to Ibrox once again, and Rangers fans were treated to a whirlwind of emotions as the club scrambled to reshape the squad after a frustrating start to the season. There was tension, anticipation, and, finally, a glimmer of hope. With key names heading out the door and urgent gaps appearing all over the pitch, the recruitment team had no choice but to act with precision and speed. And that's exactly what they did. The noise around Ibrox wasn't just the rumble of deadline day rumors. It was the echo of a club refusing to let another season drift into mediocrity. Let's be clear, Rangers' campaign so far has left fans restless. From unconvincing displays to points dropped in big moments, there's been a nagging sense that something isn't clicking. So, the board decided to roll the dice. Two major signings are now on the brink of completion, and they're not just ordinary names. They're moves that carry the potential to completely shift the dynamic of this team. But before we dive into those incoming players, there's been another major storyline that's captured the attention of the Ibrox faithful. Nico Raskin, a name that's stirred debate, frustration, and, perhaps most of all, confusion. The Belgian midfielder was left out of the squad entirely for the goalless draw against Celtic, and the reaction from the stands was immediate. Chants of Raskin rang out across Ibrox as fans made their feelings clear. They weren't just supporting a player, they were questioning the direction being taken by manager Russell Martin. And now, former coach Neil McCung has lifted the lid on what really went on behind the scenes during his time working with Raskin. According to McCung, he had more than one run-in with the midfielder during training sessions last season. Raskin would challenge decisions, question tactical instructions, and push back when he felt something wasn't right. It created tension, yes, but it also revealed the competitive fire that made him such a standout figure during his time in Glasgow. McCung even admitted they had a very heated exchange over positioning. The coaching staff wanted him to operate as a left-sided number 8, but Raskin had a habit of drifting into the same spaces occupied by Connor Barron. Rather than brush it off, McCung pulled up video clips, 5 or 6, in fact, and showed Raskin the issue. And to his credit, the midfielder took the feedback on board. He might have had more to say, might have wanted to explain his vision of the game, but once it clicked, he committed. That, according to McCung, was what made him brilliant. This wasn't just a player going rogue. This was a player with passion, intelligence, and belief in his own footballing identity. And that can be difficult for a coach, but it can also be gold if handled the right way. McCung spoke of his admiration for Raskin's performances in big games, particularly in Europe and against Celtic. He even went as far as saying that Russell Martin may have made a mistake in leaving him out. For a club chasing trophies and trying to rebuild confidence, leaving out a player of Raskin's quality, one who has already proven himself on big stages, feels like a risk. Martin has insisted there's nothing personal in the decision, but with speculation mounting and fans clearly siding with the player, it's hard to ignore the growing tension. Raskin is a Belgian international. Players with that kind of pedigree don't just grow on trees. McCung made the point that players who wear the Belgium shirt are often valued at $20 million or more. So why is Rangers considering letting him go? And if a departure is on the cards, why not try one last sit-down, one last attempt to find common ground? After all, the worst-case scenario is losing a top-level midfielder on a loan deal that undervalues his true worth. But even as the Raskin saga unfolds, Rangers have made moves, big ones. The first name coming through the door is Youssef Chermatai, the powerful striker from Everton. At just 21 years old, Chermatai is already set to become the most expensive Rangers signing in over 25 years. This is not just a gamble. This is a statement. With Hamza Igamane already gone and Cyril Dessers close to the exit as well, Rangers were left dangerously thin up front. The pressure to bring in attacking firepower was enormous, and they've answered that call. Everton sporting director Kevin Thelwell played a crucial role in making this deal happen. Chermatai was already on the radar, and the club knew time was running out. With the clock ticking, Rangers acted decisively. The deal is believed to be worth an initial $8 million, potentially rising to $10 million, and the player is expected to undergo a medical imminently. This is a forward with pedigree, having come through Sporting Lisbon and spent the last 2 seasons at Everton. His game time has been limited, but the talent is obvious. And now he gets the chance to lead the line in a team that's crying out for a new focal point. But Rangers weren't done. Defensive frailties have haunted the team this season, even with the clean sheet against Celtic. There's been a lack of depth, a lack of cohesion, and frankly, a lack of reliability at the back. That's where Derek Cornelius comes in. The Canadian international is joining on loan from Marseille in what could prove to be one of the shrewdest moves of the window. At 27, Cornelius brings experience, physical presence, and crucially, versatility. He's comfortable both at center back and at left back, and with the squad crying out for a left-footed center half, his arrival ticks multiple boxes. Cornelius has already earned 35 caps for Canada and is expected to be a major part of their plans for the 2026 World Cup, which they'll co-host. That kind of international experience, combined with a solid spell at Marseille, gives Rangers a player who's more than just a stopgap. This is someone who can slot in next to John Souter, provide cover where needed, and offer Russell Martin options he's badly lacked. It's also worth noting that Cornelius isn't just filling a role, he's pushing the standard higher. Fans will remember the disappointment of Robin Proper, who arrived with expectations and left with regret. The hope is that Cornelius will write a different story, and that might just be what defines this window, a rewriting of the story. After a frustrating start to the campaign and criticism mounting, the board have now shown intent. In Chermatai and Cornelius, Rangers are not just adding bodies. They're adding players who can transform both ends of the pitch. These are not safe, half-hearted deals. These are high-impact moves, made under pressure, with the eyes of the fanbase firmly fixed on what comes next. Meanwhile, the clear-out continues. Cyril Dessers, once seen as a marquee signing, is now on his way out. After rejecting an offer from AEK Athens earlier in the window, Rangers have now accepted bids from both AEK and Panathinaikos, with the latter reportedly leading the race. A fee of around €4.2 million plus add-ons has been agreed, and it looks likely that the Nigerian forward will join the very club that Rangers eliminated from the Champions League qualifiers earlier in the summer. It's an ironic twist, but one that feels fitting given how Dessers' time in Glasgow has unfolded. After a rough start, injuries, and inconsistent performances, his exit feels like a necessary part of the rebuild. Even so, his stats tell a different story. Over 50 goals across 2 seasons is no small feat, and while his style never fully won over the fans, he leaves with a record that deserves respect. He'll become the second striker to leave this summer after Hamza Igamane's move to Lille, and the hope is that Chermatai will now pick up the mantle and offer a more complete attacking solution. Rangers are moving fast. The recruitment team has been relentless in these final hours, identifying weaknesses and acting with purpose. It hasn't always been this way at Ibrox. Fans know the frustration of transfer windows gone by. But this time, there's a different energy. With Chermatai and Cornelius ready to step in, and the Raskin situation still hanging in the balance, the club finds itself at a crossroads. The moves made today won't just shape the next few weeks. They could define the entire season. While the arrivals of Youssef Chermatai and Derek Cornelius might be grabbing all the headlines, there's no question that Russell Martin's biggest challenge now is not just integrating the new faces, but managing the emotional temperature of a squad that's been under pressure for months. The Rangers' dressing room has not been a place of stability recently. Between tactical confusion, inconsistent performances, and off-pitch unrest, the atmosphere has felt increasingly fragile. That's why the next few weeks could be season-defining, not just because of who's coming in, but because of how this team responds as a unit. And that brings us back to Nico Raskin. The Belgian's omission from the Old Firm squad wasn't just a surprise, it was a statement. Whether Martin intended it or not, dropping one of the most vocal, passionate, and technically gifted players in the squad sent a clear message. But what message was it? Was it tactical? Was it disciplinary? Or was it the first sign of an irreversible breakdown between player and manager? What makes the situation even more complicated is the reaction from the fans. When your own supporters are chanting a player's name during the biggest match of the season, and he's not even on the bench, that speaks volumes. It shows loyalty. It shows frustration. And it shows that, in their eyes, Raskin still represents the kind of fight and spirit that's been lacking on the pitch. For a manager trying to stamp his authority, that kind of pressure is suffocating. And yet, Russell Martin remains composed in front of the cameras. He insists there's no personal issue, no fallout. But the silence around the exact reason for Raskin's absence leaves a vacuum. And in football, vacuums don't stay empty for long. They get filled with rumors, assumptions, and narratives that can spiral out of control. The clock is ticking, not just on transfer business, but on the trust between the manager and his dressing room. If Raskin does leave, whether permanently or on loan, it will feel like a loss not just in footballing terms, but in identity. This is a player who embodied everything the fans want to see: bite in the tackle, bravery in possession, and a refusal to accept mediocrity. The fact that he hasn't been perfect, that he's challenged coaches or questioned instructions, should be seen as a mark of ambition, not a flaw. Players like that, especially at a club as demanding as Rangers, are gold dust. You don't freeze them out. You find a way to make them part of your solution. But time waits for no one, and Rangers are in the thick of one of the most critical transitions in recent years. The decision to pursue Chermatai is proof that the board is prepared to spend, and spend big, when the right opportunity comes along. The Portuguese-born striker, though still raw, has attributes that could transform the attack. Tall, physical, with a natural instinct for positioning inside the box, Chermatai is not just another number 9. He's a player with presence, a target, someone defenders can't ignore. And in the rough-and-tumble world of Scottish football, that counts for a lot. His lack of minutes at Everton isn't necessarily a red flag either. That's a club in constant turmoil, with little patience for development and no real system for blooding young talent properly. In many ways, a move to Rangers might be exactly what Chermatai needs: a proper run of games, a demanding fanbase, and a team that will play to his strengths. The question is whether Martin can create a structure that gets the best out of him, because make no mistake, if Chermatai clicks, he could be a nightmare for Scottish defenses. Defensively, the addition of Cornelius has flown under the radar a bit more, but for those watching closely, it could be just as important. He's not flashy. He's not going to bomb forward and whip in crosses every week. But what he offers is reliability, and that has been sorely lacking in Rangers' backline. With John Souter often left exposed and other options either injured or underperforming, the need for a physically dominant, left-footed defender was obvious. Cornelius brings that balance. More than that, he brings leadership. This is a player who has captained Canada at youth levels and has been trusted by one of the top clubs in France. He understands pressure. He understands expectation. And crucially, he understands how to perform when the stakes are high. For a Rangers defense that has looked brittle under pressure, his presence could be the glue that holds everything together. He's not here to rotate. He's here to start, to anchor, to lead. Behind all this movement, though, lies a deeper truth about Rangers' current situation. The club is still trying to find its identity under Martin. Tactically, there's been a lack of clarity. Sometimes the press is aggressive, sometimes passive. The build-up can be slick one week and stagnant the next. That inconsistency is what kills title challenges. It's what undermines confidence. And it's what has allowed Celtic to maintain their edge despite not being at their best either. The board's decision to back Martin so heavily in the window is a clear vote of confidence, but it's also a warning. There are no more excuses. He's been given tools. He's been given time. Now he needs to deliver results. That means winning ugly when it's required. That means solving games late. That means putting together a defensive structure that doesn't crumble under pressure. And most importantly, it means picking the right battles within the dressing room. You don't win leagues by being right in arguments. You win them by getting everyone pulling in the same direction. Cyril Dessers knows that better than most. His exit is the definition of a mixed legacy. On paper, he delivered goals. Over 50 in 2 seasons is a decent return, but he never quite felt like a Rangers striker. He lacked the instinctive movement of a true finisher and struggled to assert himself in the most physical matches. Injuries didn't help, but the truth is that he never fully earned the trust of the fans or the coaching staff. A move to Panathinaikos, should it go through, might offer him the reset he needs. It also frees up space for Chermatai to become the new number 9, to take on the responsibility of being the focal point of the attack. And that transition is happening at a time when Rangers' midfield is also in flux. The likely departure of Raskin, combined with question marks over other midfield roles, puts huge pressure on the likes of Todd Cantwell and Kieran Dowell to step up. Creativity, tempo control, late runs into the box, these can't just be nice additions anymore. They need to be consistent. Features. And in all of this, Martin finds himself juggling not just tactics and transfers, but emotion. Momentum in football is a fragile thing. It can be built over weeks and lost in a single bad result. Right now, Rangers are walking a tightrope. But the good news is, the pieces are there. With Cornelius shoring up the back and Chermatai ready to be unleashed up front, the squad is slowly starting to look more balanced. What remains is the mental side, the fight, the urgency, the refusal to accept anything less than excellence. Because Rangers don't just play for points. They play for history, for pride, for the roar of Ibrox when it matters most. And the only way to earn that roar back is by winning, not just games, but the battles that define seasons. The battles in training, the battles in the dressing room, the battles in belief. There will be no hiding place now. The squad is changing, the expectations are rising, and the window of patience is closing. Russell Martin has made his choices. He's decided who stays and who goes. Now it's about what happens next. Because if this team is going to challenge for silverware, if it's going to shake off the disappointment of recent seasons, it has to start now. Not in a month. Not after another settling-in period. Now, fans have been patient. They've watched rebuild after rebuild. They've listened to promises, seen flashes of hope, then watched them fade. But the buzz around Chermatai and Cornelius has reignited something. Maybe it's belief. Maybe it's just curiosity. But either way, they'll be watching closely. And they'll demand more. The players know that. The manager knows that. And deep down, the board knows that too. So whatever happens from this point on, Rangers have crossed a line. They've committed to a new path, a new energy, a new fight. And whether that leads to glory or heartbreak will depend not on talent alone, but on unity, hunger, and the ability to respond when the pressure is at its peak. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The latest whispers echoing through the cobblestone streets of Glasgow have ignited a firestorm of speculation, and this time it comes wrapped in the figure of none other than Carlos Vela. The Mexican forward, known for his dazzling left foot and an instinct for goal that can turn ordinary afternoons into unforgettable spectacles, has reportedly confirmed his arrival at Rangers, a move that already has supporters filling pubs and social networks with excitement, disbelief, and countless theories about how such a signing came to fruition. Some argue that the deal was quietly in the making for months, with discreet negotiations involving intermediaries familiar with Vela's long career across Europe and MLS. Others whisper that the lure of Ibrox, its history, and the chance to fight once more on a stage brimming with expectation proved too enticing to resist. Whether by design or serendipity, the confirmation has created a storm, and many are already debating what this means for the balance of power not only in Scotland, but also in the continental competitions where Rangers are determined to leave their mark. The chatter surrounding Vela's decision extends far beyond the obvious headlines about his talent and resume. Some of the murmurings suggest that this is not merely a sporting move, but also one laced with strategic considerations, as Rangers look to expand their global brand and tap into an audience that has followed the Mexican forward with passion since his Arsenal days. Insiders claim that the club envisions Vela as more than a footballer. He is to become a bridge toward new markets, fresh sponsorships, and a level of international attention rarely seen in Scottish football outside of the old firm's fiercest clashes. Critics, however, raise questions about whether this gamble, for all its potential financial windfall, will translate into consistency on the pitch, pointing to Vela's at times enigmatic relationship with football, his well-documented preference for enjoying life beyond the pitch, and whether he will adapt swiftly to the rugged intensity of the Scottish Premiership. For every optimist declaring that Vela's vision, technique, and flair will add a new dimension to the Rangers' attack, there is a skeptic reminding all who listen that talent alone does not guarantee triumph under the grey skies and relentless pace of Scottish competition. Yet despite the cautionary tones, the mood among the faithful who pack Ibrox is increasingly colored with optimism, and the whispers on Edmiston Drive reflect a belief that Rangers are daring to dream bigger than ever. Season ticket holders, many of whom have grown accustomed to seeing talented but often unheralded names join the squad, now see in Vela a marquee signing that symbolizes ambition and a hunger to compete at the highest levels once again. The sheer weight of his experience, from World Cup appearances with Mexico to memorable performances in La Liga and MLS, is being touted as precisely the kind of pedigree that can elevate the entire dressing room. Observers point out that having a figure like Vela in training sessions alone can raise standards, inspire younger players, and provide that touch of genius in matches where guile rather than brute force is required. The rumor mill adds further spice by hinting that Rangers may not stop here, with whispers of additional international reinforcements on the horizon, signaling a shift in recruitment strategy aimed at matching Celtic stride for stride while carving out their own unique flair. Around the pubs of Govan and in the sports pages of the Scottish dailies, the debate turns not just on what Vela can bring, but on how the squad will adapt to his presence. There is speculation about tactical reshuffles, murmurs about whether Giovanni van Bronckhorst or his successor has already sketched out plans to build an attack that maximizes Vela's creativity and left-footed brilliance. Some argue that his arrival could push certain forwards into new roles, while others see the move as a chance to finally balance the attack with a blend of experience and fresh energy. Old hands remind younger fans that glamour signings in Scotland often carry risks, citing past examples of players who dazzled abroad but struggled against the grit of Livingston away on a rainy Wednesday night. Nevertheless, the sense persists that this could mark a turning point, the kind of signature that fans recall years later as the moment ambition and opportunity aligned. Amidst it all, the whispers refuse to die down, hinting at behind-the-scenes negotiations, performance clauses, and the possibility of a broader plan that stretches beyond this season's campaign, perhaps laying the groundwork for an era where Rangers reassert themselves as a European force. As dawn breaks over the Clyde, and the city digests the rumor-turned reality, the conversation inevitably turns to what lies ahead. Supporters speak of packed stadiums, of chants echoing louder than before, of a team emboldened by the belief that they can once more etch their name into footballing history with more than domestic dominance. Vela's arrival, they say, could be the spark that unites generations of fans in a common dream, a symbol of daring to think beyond the ordinary. Of course, the whispers remain. Will his body hold up to the rigors? Will his passion burn bright in Scotland's cold? And will the gamble pay dividends in silverware? For now, though, the mood is buoyant, fueled by the simple fact that Carlos Vela has confirmed what once seemed like an outlandish rumor. He is coming to Rangers. And in this city where football is more than sport, where it shapes identity and divides households, that confirmation has set in motion a new chapter, one filled with anticipation, speculation, and a belief that something extraordinary may just be unfolding before their eyes. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.